I'm Michael. That's a very tough act to follow. It's nothing like the pain of a grieving mother and the story she can tell to a legislator, that she can tell to you, that she can tell to a newspaper, that she can tell to a blog. It's nothing like hearing that. It's nothing like losing someone you brought into this world. I've lost everything. I've had Lego sets crushed on me. I've lost money, wallets. My vehicle has been towed. But I've never had something that has come out of my stomach taken off of this earth. So, her pain and plight is serious. So at Ceasefire PA, what we try to do is amplify those voices. We talk about Parkland, we talk about Sandy Hook, we talk about white schools that deal with gun violence, and how legislators are quick to act on that. But that's because people are advocating. If you look next to you, if you look around in this room, we're at the NAACP, and you can quickly realize that participation is costly. It takes money to go to Harrisburg and Washington, D.C. It takes money to write you have to have an op-ed, or you have to have a computer to write an op-ed, and you have to have email in order to get it in timely, in order for it to be relevant. As I'm sitting here, like hearing people talk, and I'm realizing with myself, I think I could potentially be suffering from PTSD, but you heard from my executive director, who actually does a great job in making sure like I'm pleased and I'm happy, and I'm always wondering like why are you so kind and why are you so pleasant? But going to vigils every other week and watching people who look like me, watching people who walk like me, watching people who talk like me mourn, cry, and get buried, like that's very tough. The impact on communities and gun violence, first of all, people of color make up 12% of the population in PA, and we account for like 69% of the homicides. So we're not talking about rural counties, we're talking about like Chester, we're talking about Philadelphia, we're talking about parts of Allentown. And then the rhetoric, when we do talk about like Black and brown kids, is legislators don't care about children of color. When it comes to guns, legislators don't care about anybody. Prior to me coming up here, like we heard of Parkland, they didn't make a move. Sandy Hook, there wasn't a move. So many Columbine, there still wasn't a move. And these were white kids that were dying. These weren't kids that looked like me. So imagine like how quick they'll be able to move for somebody who doesn't identify with them. Like I said, participation is costly. I am jumping back and forth, but there's so many topics to cover. You gotta think, in 1965, like people of color just got the ability to like vote and partake in the electoral process. So lobbying and issue advocacy and other parts of the process that's significant, like we're kind of just now being introduced to. We teach people how to write letters. We do postcard parties. We'll go to your house. We'll go to a community center, and we try to take busloads of kids to Harrisburg in DC. If not to meet a legislator, just to walk around the Capitol, just to see what it looks like, to see how beautiful the building is, to see how our economy moves. My job, I try to find like some of the most vulnerable people, and I teach them how to be issue advocates. We talk about DV. We often hear about like straw purchasing and women with straw purchasing. You heard a lot about the Brad Fox law, which is like an automatic 5 years for someone who's caught straw purchasing. But we have to think about like women who are in abusive relationships, and it's like you go purchase this gun or else, and then somehow they end up spending 5 years in Muncie. Now we have a child who isn't growing up with their mother. That's trauma as well. And then the cycle kind of like repeats itself, and we get back to like the first stage of a gun in the community, and then gun violence, plaguing Black communities. How many people in this room know what trans-panic violence is? Not too many. In courts of law, basically, if you murder a trans person, you can say that I was in a panic, I didn't know, she was fooling me, and a judge will actually, like, people get off by committing acts of trans panic and transphobic violence. A lot of people don't know that, and I try to educate people. We elect judges who kind of, stand for hate. That's something I just learned 2 weeks ago, so this is like a learning process for me as well. Wow. And then like the whole thing with assault weapons and communities of color. So we don't get like lost and stolen report, and it isn't mandatory. And then the long gun that your 15-year-old was able to get, like you can actually get that firearm without a background check. It's completely legal. I can go to my trunk, meet somebody online, and get that fire. Like I don't have to say my name. I don't even have to have a conversation, and I can take that firearm home. So we're not only talking about like bad laws, but we're talking about loopholes in laws. You can go to gun shows and get firearms. It's very easy. Stand your ground laws. So trans panic, and this is why I am a cisgender hetero male, but this is why trans panic violence is important to me, because when we talk about standing your ground, that's black panic violence. When Trayvon Martin was murdered, that was black panic violence. So if we're not advocating for all populations, and we're not advocating for people who suffer from this issue all around, then how can I protect or expect somebody to protect me or advocate for me when somebody wants to stand? And then the NRA, they have insurance for. I know Carry Guard is being blocked. I know Kumo did a great job in New York, kind of like getting insurance companies to drop that, but there's still other ways around it where you can get insurance for shooting somebody if you stand your ground, like the NRA and interest groups will pay your legal fees. So it's kind of like our backs are against the wall in court, our backs are against the wall in Harrisburg and DC. The NRA has tons of money. I heard something about them not being able to operate. I don't know how true that is. They claim to be the oldest civil rights organization in the world. So we just keep fighting. I'm paid well, I'm treated well, I'm fed well to fight and teach people how to fight. That's it. That's all I have.